You keep choosing that same person, not the same face, not the same name, not the same story, but the same experience. What if that pattern is not designed to trap you, but to teach you something you are finally ready to see and change? Stick with me until the end, and you'll get the answer. I'm not your average granny. I'm Coach Granny, a 94-year-old retired psychologist and pastor, and now your life coach, telling it just like it is about what really matters when it comes to relationships and you. Let's be clear about this week's message. It's not about blame, it's about awareness. Because many people find themselves asking the same question over and over again. Why does this keep happening to me? Why do I keep ending up in the same kind of relationship? Or why does it feel different in the beginning but familiar in the end? And the answer is not always what you think. It's easy to believe that you just had bad luck, that you just met the wrong person, that this one simply didn't work out. But when the pattern repeats and repeats and repeats, we have to be honest enough to look deeper. You're not choosing the same person. You are choosing what feels familiar, and familiarity has power. It can feel like connection. It can feel like chemistry. It can feel like this just feels right. But sometimes what feels right is actually what feels known. And what feels known is not always what is healthy. Some of you are drawn to people who require you to prove yourself, to explain yourself, to earn your place, not because you enjoy that experience, but because somewhere along the way that became normal to you. Some of you are drawn to people who are emotionally distant, who are hard to reach, who give just enough to keep you hoping, but not enough to feel secure. Can you relate? And you tell yourself, this one is different. But your body already recognizes the pattern. Some of you are drawn to people who need you, who lean on you, who rely on your strength, your patience, your understanding. And that can feel meaningful. But over time, you may realize you're always the one holding everything together. You're always the one adjusting, always the one explaining, and you're always the one giving more than you receive. And then you wonder why you feel drained. This is not random. This is pattern. And patterns do not come from nowhere. They come from what you have experienced, what you have adapted to, what you have learned to accept as normal. So when you say, I keep choosing the same person, what you're really saying is, I keep choosing what feels familiar to me. Now, let me take this one step deeper. Familiar does not just live in your mind, it lives in your nervous system. Your body recognizes certain dynamics, certain tones, certain ways of being treated. And when it recognizes them, guess what? It relaxes into them, even if they're not good for you. Because to your system, familiar means predictable, and predictable feels safe even when it hurts. I hear your question. Even when it hurts. That's the right answer. So you may meet someone who is actually steady, actually present, actually clear in how they show up. And instead of feeling drawn in, you feel unsure. Something feels off because something is different, and different requires adjustment. Different requires you to let go of what you have known. And that's not always easy So what do you do with this awareness, Coach Granny? You don't shame yourself or judge yourself. You don't say, what's wrong with me? Instead, you begin to observe. You begin to ask yourself better questions. Not just, do I like them? But how do I feel in their presence? Not just, are they interested in me? But do I feel at ease with how they show up? Not, does this feel exciting? But does this feel stable? And can I receive that? Because growth in relationships often feels unfamiliar at first. And if you're not aware of that, you may walk away from something that's really healthy and return to something that simply feels known. When I say known, I mean things you've been doing all along. So this is where your work begins, not in trying to find a completely different kind of person, but in becoming aware of what you are drawn to and why. In learning to pause instead of moving automatically, in noticing when something feels intense and asking yourself whether that intensity is connection or pattern. In learning to sit with something that feels calm without rushing to label it as boring or lacking. Because sometimes what you call boring is actually peace. And sometimes what you call chemistry is actually familiarity repeating itself. You keep choosing the same person until you become aware of the pattern. And once you see it clearly, you have a different kind of choice. Not just who you choose, but how you choose. And that's where everything begins to change. Coach Granny said something. Did you hear her? What did it mean to you? What did she say to you? I hope you heard me. Until next week, peace, love, and joy. That's what you are. So be you.